Good evening, everyone. Welcome to MJ's Maths and Stats. That's MJ Magic Studio to you. And in this session, every night, 9 o'clock, I'm here on the channel along with you to solve previous years, previous terms, DCS, Ninja, and digital on campus questions along with you. Since this examination is going to knock your door very soon, so be with us every night 9 o'clock 9 p.m. and solve few questions. Hope it will help you out during your examination. On this note, let's begin now. Two circles of radii 5 cm and 3 cm touch each other at A. So we have two circles, radii 5 and one smaller circle of radii 3. They touch at point A. They touch at point A, that means through A they can join their centers. This is 5 and this is 3. And also touch a line at B and C. There is a line, the two circles touches this line at B and C. This is known as direct common tangent. And they have asked to find the distance BC, that is the length of the direct common tangent. If the radius of the two circles touching each other at point A is R1 and R2, then direct common tangent is simply 2 times root over R1 into R2. You can see how it is. If I join this point, let the center be X, then the radius makes 90 degree with the tangent. And if I join this CY, then this radius makes 90 degree with the tangent. Now from point Y, I draw a line which is perpendicular to this tangent. Sorry, parallel to this tangent. So we'll get XYZ. This XYZ is the right angle triangle, where you can see YZ is nothing but BC. That is the perpendicular. Therefore, this is BC square plus ZX. ZX is nothing but difference between two radii. This is R1, this is R2. That means ZX is R1 minus R2 whole square, which is equals to this hypotenuse XY. XY is nothing but R1 plus R2 whole square. So when we solve, BC square is R1 square plus R2 square plus 2R1 R2, and this will go there with negative sign, minus R1 square minus R2 square minus minus plus 2R1 R2. So we see we left with only 4R1 R2. Therefore, the length of the direct common tangent is root over 4R1 R2 or twice root over R1 R2. Now in this case, R1 is 5 and R2 is 3. That means the length of the direct common tangent is 2 times 3 into 5, that is 15. Now all the options are in single search. So when 2 goes inside, it is 4. 4 into 5 is 60. That is equivalent to root 60. That is in option A. What is the sum of the base 7 numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 added up with 6, 5, 4, 3, and both the numbers are in base 7? Okay, base 7 means it has got only 7 digits and those are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So we'll use the same logic as we use in the addition of base 10. 4 plus 3 is 7, but we don't have 7. Then what we'll do, divide 7 by 7, quotient is 1, that will be the carryover, and remainder is 0, that will come down. That is the simple process how we add numbers in any base. Now again, 1 plus 3 plus 4 is 8. 8 divided by 7, quotient is 1 and remainder is 1. Quotient will be carryover 1 and remainder would be here. 5 plus 2, 7 plus 1 is 8. Again 8 by 7, quotient is 1, that is the carryover, and remainder 1 would be written down. 6 plus 1 is 8. Again the quotient is 1, which is carried over, nothing is there, so I'm writing carryover here, and remainder remains at 1. So when we add up both these numbers in base 7, we'll get this in base 7. 1 1 1 1 0. 1 1 1 1 0 is in option B. Given x square is less than 1 by 100 and x is also less than 0, then what is the highest range in which x can lie? If I see 1 by 100 is nothing but 1 by 10 whole square. Now if I take it on the left hand side, x square minus 1 by 10 whole square is less than 0. This is a square minus b square. A square minus b square is a plus b into a minus b is less than 0. Now if I equate left hand side to 0, I'll get two values of x. One is minus 1 by 10 and one is 1 by 10. Now this is 0, to the left is minus 1 by 10, to the right is 1 by 10. Since x minus a into x minus b is less than 0, value of x should lie between a and b. That means x lies between minus 10 to 10. But here it is also given that x is less than 0. That means common area now become from minus 1 by 10 to 0. That means x should lie between minus 1 by 10 to 0 if we combine this number 1 and number 2. So the highest range in which x can lie is between minus 1 by 10 to 0, that is given in option A. I hope you people are following the simple drill as you know. Please try to pause the video, try to solve it yourself. If you have a doubt, talk to yourself, try to solve it, and then look out for the solution, isn't it? That is the best way to follow any video solutions. Pause it, try to solve it yourself, make a note of the question if required, and then look out for the solution. These types of questions are like trick-based, surface-based question, what we call. There are 4 boxes colored red, green, yellow and blue. 2 boxes are selected. So if I stop here and if I need to select 2 boxes out of 4, then total number of selection would be 4C2. 4C2 is simply 4 into 3 by 2. That is 6 cases. I'll get 6 cases. Now, how many combinations are there for at least 1 green box or 1 red box? Whenever the word at least is there, we follow the rule of at least means total minus none. Now total cases are 6. None means neither a green box nor a red box. That means we need to choose either from yellow or from blue. So in how many ways we can select? 2 out of 2, that is 2C2, and 2C2 is 1. So at least will be 6 minus 1, that is 5. In 5 cases, or we can have 5 different combinations where we will have at least 1 green box or 1 red box. Or we can go straight away also. If there are 4 boxes and 2 boxes need to be selected, the selections can be either red green, red yellow, red blue, or green yellow, green blue, or yellow blue. You can see that total we have got 6 selection, out of which we need at least 1 green or 1 red. Here we have green, here we have green, green, red, red. This is the case where we have no green, no red. So ultimately we have got how many cases? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Simple is use combination technique of at least. At least means total cases minus none related to this at least characteristics. So we use this and in no time we can get the answer. There are 5 of such cases, 5 combinations can be done. Option A fits in. Two cyclists begin training on an oval race course at the same time. Okay, that is with the starting point. The professional cyclists complete each lap in 4 minutes. We will take 4 minutes and come back to the same point. The novice takes 6 minutes to complete each lap. Okay, after 6 minutes, he will come to the same point. How many minutes after the start will both cyclists pass at exactly the same spot where they begin to cycle? After what time the professional will come at the starting point? He will come after 4 minutes, then 8, then 12, then 16, then 20. After every 4th minute, 8th minute, 12th minute, he would be at the starting point. And the novice will be at the starting point after every 6 minutes, 12, 18, 24, 30 and on. Now we need to find that how many minutes after the start exactly at the same point they would be meeting with each other. That means we are looking out for a number which is common to the set of P and common to the set of N. That means we are looking out for common number or common multiple. And since they need to meet for the first time, okay, we are looking out for least common multiple. That is, we are looking out for LCM of 4 and 6. And LCM of 4 and 6 is 12. 12 is the first common number in the set of P and N, or the least common multiple of 4 or 6. So after 12 minutes, they will meet for the first time at the same point, starting point from the time they have first started. That means option A fits in. Ninja digital paper is often full of with questions which are actually known as surface reasoning questions or mathematical reasoning question. Either you know this how to do or you don't know this. You can't experiment at the time of the exam in these kind of questions. We have an equal arms 2 pen balance, beam balance type, and need to weigh object with integral weights in the range of 1 to 40. That means we need to weight 1, 2, 3, 4, anything till 40 in one go. We have a set of standard weights and can place the weights in any pen. Either you can place here or you can place here. That is, some weights can be in a pen with objects and some weights can be in the other pen. The minimum number of standard weights required it. Since in this case this is given, which means that addition and subtraction both are allowed. If we keep on adding weights on only one pen, we call this model as only addition model. And if we can also put weights on the second pen, we call it addition and subtraction model. In these kind of question where addition and subtraction of weights both are allowed, we follow powers of 3. Start writing from the powers of 3 starting with 0 and keep on adding till you get anything which is 40 or more than 40. 3 to the power 0 is 1 plus 3 to the power 1 is 3, that is 4. 3 square is 9 that is 13. 3 cube is 27, that is 40. We can stop here because total of this is 40. Now answer is simply we require 4 of such weights. This is the smallest number of weights with which we can weigh any number between 1 to 40 in one go, and the weights are nothing but powers of 3 starting with 3 to the power 0. If I put 1 on this, I can weigh 1. Then to weigh 2, I'll put 3 on 1 and 1 on this 2. Then 3 is also weighed. 4 is 3 plus 1. 5 is 9 minus 3 plus 1. 6 is 9 minus 3. 7 is 9 plus 1 minus 3 is 7. 8 is 9 minus 1. 10 is 9 plus 1. You will see that you can get any number till 40 if addition and subtraction both are allowed. Now if in this question it is given that only one pen can be allowed, only one pen is allowed to keep the weights. You can check out video is there. I'll give the link in the description. Best of TCS. When best of TCS, these kind of surface based mathematical reasonings are there. 10 of such questions are there. You must go through it because they often ask mathematical surface based reasoning questions which either we know or we don't know. If one pen is only allowed, then we use powers of 2. And please check out that video to get in details of what will happen if only addition is allowed. Let's take up another question. Find the number of rectangles from the adjoining figure. You need to find how many rectangles you can see in this figure. A square is also considered a rectangle. Again, obviously in these type of question, either we know or we don't know, and the formula is quite simple. Here we see that number of rows are not equals to number of columns. Rows is not equals to number of columns. In this case, number of rectangles on this particular figure, which will also include squares, will be given by simply r into r plus 1 by 2 into c plus 1 by 2. With help of combination, we derive this formula. In many books, you will get formula like 1 plus 2 plus 3 till r into 1 plus 2 plus 3 till c, which eventually ends up getting this particular direct formula. So now we need to calculate how many rows and how many columns do we have. Rows we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So r is equals to 6. And columns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Columns are 12. The number of rectangle, which also includes square, would be 6 into 7 by 2 into 12 into 13 by 2. 2 to 4 3 times. So this is 42 into 39. 9 2 is 18. 1, 6, 3, 8 rectangles are there. Answer is in option C, which also includes number of squares. If by chance they ask that how many squares are there on this diagram. For squares where r is not equals to c, we use formula r into c plus r minus 1 into c minus 1 plus r minus 2 into c minus 2 plus dot 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 till one of them reaches 0. So if only number of squares are asked, the number of squares would be like 6 into 12 plus 5 into 11 plus 4 into 10 plus 3 into 9 plus 2 into 8 plus 1 into 7, and now stop because henceforth we will start getting 0. So calculate yourself and get us that how many squares would be there. And now if they ask you that how many rectangles are there on this adjoining figure which are not squares, so that would be simply answer 1 minus answer 2. Number of rectangles which are not squares. For that you need to make use of both the formula. Then answer number 1 minus answer number 2 will give you rectangles which are not squares. A, B, C and D go for a picnic. When A stands on a weighing machine, B also climbs on, and the weight shown was 132 kg. That means A plus B is 132, their weights. When B stands, C also climb up. That means B plus C, and the machines show 130 kg. Similarly, the weight of C and D is found to be 102 kg, and that of B and D is found to be 116 kg. What is D's weight? We need D. We can make use of these two, then eliminate BC. Only these three would be required. Okay. So if I deduct B plus D and C plus D, no, I need D. So let me deduct these two. Then B minus D is 28 and B plus D is 116. So it would be B minus D is 28. I subtract this, then 2D equals 16, 8 and 88. Weight of D is 88 by 2, that is 44 kgs. What is D's weight? 44 kg, that is in option C. And similarly we can calculate weight of each one of them, isn't it? So B should be how much? 28 plus D, 28 plus 44. Okay, yes, that should be B. So B should be 72. A then is 132 minus 72, that is 60. And C is 102 minus D, 102 minus 44 is 858. So we have weight of everyone. A is 60, B is 72, C is 58 and D is 44. Whatever they ask, any other question they ask related to it, we just need to find the values of A, B, C, D and solve. They may ask you what is the ratio of weights of A, B, C, D. We require these four things and then we can calculate the ratio. What is the ratio of sum of weights of A and C and sum of weights of B and D, or what is the difference between anything can be asked. But here weight of D is asked, that is 44 kg. Answer is in option C. In the adjoining figure, ABCD and EFGH are squares of side 1 unit such that they intersect in a square of diagonal CE, which is equals to half. The total area covered by the square is. Okay, first of all, if we have a square and we have diagonal as D, then what would be the area of the square? Let's side is x, then we know that diagonal is equals to root 2x. Area of the square would be x square, which can be written as, here we see that diagonal square is 2x square, so it can be written as diagonal square by 2. That means area of a square with help of diagonal is d square divided by 2. Now of this small square where diagonal length is half, area of this small square is half square by 2, that is 1 by 4 by 2, that is 1 by 8. That is area of the small square. Now the question asked is what is the total area covered by the square? So area covered by the square ABCD, total area covered by square is area covered by the square ABCD plus area covered by the square EFGH minus the common area of the small square. Why? Because that small square area is coming up twice, isn't it? This is common and we have calculated twice when we have taken up the bigger square. So the total area covered up will be ABCD area is 1 square because side is 1 unit. EFGH is also 1 square minus common area is 1 by 8. So this is 2 minus 1 by 8, that is 16 minus 1, 15 by 8 square units, which is 7 by 8 square units. The total area cover would be 7 by 8 square units. Option B is the correct answer. M and OP are all different individuals. M is daughter of N. So we have N and M is daughter. Let me put minus sign for female. N is son of O. That means N is son. That means N is male. And he is son of O. Who is O? We don't know, male or female. O is the father of P. Now it's known that O is male and he is also father of P. N is son of O, that means O son is N and O is also father of P. Now we don't know what is the gender of P because it's only written O is the father of P. P can be male or female. But it is clear that P and N are on the same set. That means P and N are siblings. They can be brother or sister. We don't know the gender of P. Now among the following statement, which one is true? Let me change the color. Okay. Statement 1 says M is daughter of P. It is quite clear that M is daughter of N and P is sibling of N. M is not the daughter of P. If B is the daughter of N, so if we take that there is one more member B and he is daughter of N, that means that M is also daughter of N, B is also daughter of N. M and B are sisters because we know the gender of both of them. Yes, M and B would be sisters. Let me check the other two options also. If C is the granddaughter of O, now O is at this position, O have got two children, P and N, then O can be daughter of P, C can be daughter of P or C can be daughter of N. In that case, it is not necessary that C and M are sisters. No. If C is daughter of N, then only C and M are sisters. If C is daughter of P, then C and M would be cousins. That means this statement is not necessarily correct always. Now P and N are brothers. That we have decided in the beginning itself because gender of P is not available. P can be sister of N or P can be brother of N. This particular thing is also not certainly true. Then which one is certainly true? Option B, that if B is daughter of N, then M and B would be sisters.